Ever feel like you're on that treadmill, just chasing after that thing that'll finally make you happy?
Oh, yeah. That new job, the
Yeah.
bigger house, maybe even just like a clean inbox.
Right.
But the finish line keeps moving.
Ugh, it's the worst. We're going to dive deep today into a podcast episode that really tackles this feeling head on.
Okay, sounds good.
It's called Why Do We Always Feel Like Something Is Missing? A Biblical Perspective on Finding Joy.
Okay, so getting into like the can we really be joyful even when things aren't perfect kind of question.
Yeah, exactly. Can we really be joyful even when life feels incomplete? And this episode uses teachings from the Bible to kind of explore this feeling.
Interesting.
It's almost universal, I feel like, this something's missing feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what struck me right away?
What's that?
How the episode describes this cycle of not enough. Like when we're kids, we think, okay, when I grow up, I'll have it all figured out, right?
Totally.
But then adulthood hits.
Yeah.
And it's like suddenly it's, if only I had a partner, or if I could just get that promotion.
And then you get it, and you're like, wait.
It's never enough.
Yeah, and that's the trap, isn't it? This constant striving for more, like believing that happiness is just beyond the next achievement.
Right.
What I thought was fascinating is this source connects this feeling to our nature, like human nature.
Okay.
Like this is an inherent yearning, this sense of longing that can sometimes lead us down this path of just never-ending pursuit.
So how do we break free from that? This episode points us towards this kind of radical idea.
Okay, I'm listening.
It says that true joy isn't about acquiring things.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a relationship with God.
That's a powerful shift in perspective, for sure.
Totally.
When you think about it, so much of our world revolves around external validation.
Right.
Material possessions, achieving the next milestone.
Next achievement.
Yeah. But this source is arguing that lasting joy comes from something much deeper, this connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's where those powerful verses from the Bible come into play.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
I was like 1 Peter 5.7.
Okay, love that one.
It literally says, unload all your worries on him because he himself takes care of you.
Wow.
It's like a permission slip to just let go of that burden of trying to control everything.
Oh, that's good. That is good.
I know, right?
What a relief.
Total relief. It's a profound message of trust and surrender.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles.
Yeah.
That there's a higher power who is both aware of and invested in our well-being.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
There's another verse, Matthew 6.30, that uses this beautiful imagery of wildflowers.
Oh, I love that one.
It basically says that if God cares for even these delicate blooms, surely he'll care for us too.
That's so reassuring.
Isn't it?
It's like saying, take a deep breath, you are provided for.
Exactly.
I love that.
And then there's Psalm 37.25. The episode shares how David, who faced incredible challenges in his life, reflects on his journey and says he's never seen God abandon those who are faithful.
Wow, that right there speaks volumes.
It does.
David, who faced betrayals, wars, loss, still found solace in that unwavering faithfulness of God.
Yeah.
I mean,
powerful.
It's so powerful. And this episode uses that as just like a powerful testimony to encourage us to trust in God's presence, even when life is throwing us curveballs.
Absolutely. It's like this constant refrain, God's got you.
Yes.
It's woven through all these verses offering comfort and reassurance,
Right.
especially when we're feeling lost or inadequate. But what about like the comparison game?
Oh, the comparison game.
It's so hard not to get caught up in feeling like we're not enough.
I know.
Especially when we're just bombarded with images of like perfect lives everywhere we look.
Oh, yeah. The age of comparison. That's where Colossians 2.0 comes in.
Okay, yeah.
It reminds us that we are complete in Him.
Okay.
This source directly tackles that trap of comparison,
Okay.
highlighting that our worth, our wholeness, comes from our connection to God,
Yeah.
not from measuring up to some external standard.
I love that. It's like an antidote to those less than feelings that can really drag us down.
It really is.
But here's where it gets interesting. The source doesn't just talk about finding joy.
Okay.
It emphasizes choosing contentment.
And that's a crucial distinction,
It is.
because contentment isn't settling for mediocrity or becoming complacent.
Right.
It's finding a peaceful acceptance of God's plan for our lives,
I like that.
even as we continue to strive for growth and improvement.
So it's not about giving up on our goals or aspirations.
Right.
It's about aligning those desires with God's will.
Yeah.
And finding joy in the journey itself.
Yes.
Regardless of the outcome.
Exactly. And what I find so compelling is how the episode frames contentment as an active choice.
Oh, interesting.
It's about intentionally shifting our focus from what we lack to what we have.
I see.
From our unlimited perspective to God's infinite wisdom and love.
So it's like we're actively cultivating a mindset of gratitude and trust, choosing to see the abundance in our lives even when things feel incomplete.
Precisely. And that takes practice, especially in a world that's constantly telling us more, more, more.
It does.
But the episode encourages us to resist those temptations and focus on cultivating a deep sense of inner peace that comes from our relationship with God.
So if we're not chasing fleeting happiness and trying to fill that void with stuff, how do we approach our goals and desires? Does it mean giving up on our dreams?
That is a fantastic question. And it leads us to a deeper exploration of what it truly means to find joy in God's plan for our lives. You know, it's interesting. This source we're looking at, it kind of frames joy as a gift from God.
Okay.
It's not like something we earn or achieve through our own efforts, but something freely given when we connect with Him.
That takes so much pressure off.
Doesn't it?
It does. It's not about striving to manufacture happiness or checking off all the boxes on the list.
Yeah.
It's about receiving God's grace and allowing that joy to kind of flow into our lives.
Exactly. And the source even describes this incredible, almost overwhelming joy that people experience when they first accept God into their lives.
Oh, wow.
It's like this joy mixed with carelessness, almost a sense of wonder. That might even seem strange to those around them.
So it's like the world is suddenly just infused with this new kind of light, this vibrancy that wasn't there before.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's key is that this joy isn't based on like all our desires being fulfilled or our circumstances being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about the trust that we place in God, the surrender to something bigger than ourselves.
And that brings us back to that important distinction between happiness and joy.
Okay.
Happiness, as the source suggests, is often fleeting, tied to external circumstances, like getting a promotion, buying a new car, achieving some sort of outward success.
Right.
Those things, they can bring moments of happiness, but they fade.
They do. They absolutely do. Whereas joy, this deeper, more enduring feeling, comes from a different place altogether.
It does.
It's rooted in our faith, our connection to God, and the knowledge that we are loved and cared for regardless of our circumstances.
Precisely. And that's why the source emphasizes the importance of choosing contentment. It's about being present in the moment, appreciating what we have, and trusting that God is working everything out for our good, even when we can't see the full picture.
So it's not about being passive or giving up on our dreams.
Right.
It's about finding that balance between pursuing our goals and accepting God's will for our lives.
Exactly.
Oh.
And it's a challenging balance to strike, isn't it? Because we're constantly bombarded with these messages telling us to strive for more, to never settle, to achieve.
No time.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is. But this source encourages us to resist those messages.
Okay.
To stop comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah.
And to find our worth in God's love.
So powerful. And that's where those key Bible verses come in again, like 1 Peter 5.7, reminding us to unload all your worries on Him because He Himself takes care of you.
I love that verse.
It's so good.
It's like a permission slip to let go of the things we can't control and to trust that God's got our backs.
Seriously. When you think about it, that's a pretty liberating thought.
It is.
It frees us from that burden of trying to do everything ourselves, of constantly striving for perfection, and allows us to rest in the knowledge that we are loved and supported.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all figured out. We can simply surrender to a power greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And trust that we are exactly where we need to be.
And the source reminds us that God's care for us is constant.
It is.
Just like He provides for the wildflowers, He provides for us too.
It's such a beautiful image.
It is.
It speaks to the depth of God's love and the extent of His provision.
But how does this all play out in our everyday lives? How do we go from feeling like something's missing to embracing this God-given joy?
Well, the source suggests that it starts with a choice.
Okay.
A choice to shift our focus from what we lack to what we have, from our own limited perspective to God's infinite wisdom and love.
It's like changing the channel in our minds.
Yes.
Tuning into a different frequency that's filled with gratitude and trust.
And that takes practice, of course.
It does.
It's not always easy to silence the voices of doubt and fear.
Right.
But the source encourages us to keep coming back to those core truths.
Okay.
To immerse ourselves in Scripture.
Yeah.
And to choose contentment over comparison.
So it's about actively cultivating a mindset of joy, even when our circumstances might suggest otherwise.
Precisely. It's about training ourselves to see the good, to appreciate the blessings, and to trust in God's plan, even when it unfolds in unexpected ways.
Which brings us back to that central question: can we truly be joyful even when things feel incomplete? What do you think?
Based on what we've explored in this episode, I think the answer is a resounding yes. Not because we suddenly have everything we ever wanted or because our lives are free from challenges, but because we've tapped into a deeper source of joy, a joy that transcends our circumstances and finds its roots in our relationship with God.
It's like we're trading in that temporary, conditional happiness for a lasting, unshakable joy that comes from knowing we are loved and cared for by a power greater than ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's no longer about checking off those boxes on the to-do list or chasing those fleeting pleasures.
Right.
It's about cultivating a deep and abiding sense of peace and contentment that comes from within, from that connection with the divine.
So if we're not constantly trying to fill that void with stuff or achievements, how does that change how we approach our goals and desires? Does it mean we just give up on our dreams?
That's a great question. And I think the episode challenges us to consider this. If true joy isn't tied to achieving everything on our wish list, maybe it means approaching our goals with a different mindset.
Maybe it's about pursuing those goals with a sense of purpose, knowing that our worth isn't defined by the outcome, but by who we are in God's eyes.
Absolutely. And perhaps it also means letting go of the things that no longer serve us, the goals that are driven by ego or a need for external validation.
Instead, we can focus on those things that bring us genuine joy, things that align with our values and our purpose in life as defined by our relationship with God.
And perhaps most importantly, it means surrendering the outcome to God, trusting that He will guide us towards what is best, even if it looks different than what we initially envisioned.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between effort and surrender,
Yes.
between pursuing our dreams and accepting God's plan for our lives.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the true magic happens, where we discover that joy and contentment we've been searching for all along. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey and who we become along the way.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to a whole new perspective on joy. It's amazing how much wisdom and insight we can find in a single podcast episode, especially when we take the time to unpack it and apply it to our own lives.
It's a testament to the power of faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a reminder that even when we feel lost or incomplete, there's a source of hope and joy that's always available to us.
So for you listening out there, we encourage you to take some time to reflect on what we've discussed today. Revisit those powerful Bible verses and consider how they might apply to your own life. What are some areas where you might need to let go of control and surrender to God's plan? How can you cultivate a mindset of gratitude and contentment even amidst your current circumstances?
And remember, you are not alone in this journey. God is with you every step of the way, offering you a love and a joy that surpasses all understanding.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the nature of true joy. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.